really, it's a secret. But it's simply too good, if you know what I mean, to not share. In the Sefer Yones Elim, authored by a man named Rabbi Yoina Karpilov, and this Sefer has become famous in the world and circles of the yeshivos because it is packed with many insights to help understand the sugyos, the clarity, and really have a lot of famous pieces from the great Roshei Yeshivos of yesteryear. But tucked away at the beginning of this Sefer, very unassumingly, there is one essay, his notes, from a talk that he heard from Rav Yeruchom Levovitz, the great mashgiach of Yeshivas Mir, titled Maamar Koichas HaOdam, a talk about the potential and the intestinal fortitude of what one individual can accomplish in his life. With the Almighty's help, we should develop, we will be zeicha to redefine the different levels of intelligence in society, what it means to be a human, what a person's objective should be in the morning when he wakes up. And Amir Hashem, we should reach a crescendo of a one-line summarization of this Maamar Koichas HaOdam from the Sefer Yones Elim. See that there are 4 different levels of intelligence in the world. Chazal tell us there is something called a domem, an inanimate object, rock, food. Then there's a level of intelligence above that, a tzomeach, something that is alive, but it can't necessarily move like an animal, more like bacteria or a plant. That'd be a good example. And then above that, there's a level called a chai, which is an animal, something that has some real instincts, can move around. And then crowning all of the intelligence of the globe is something called a medaber, a human being with intelligence, the ability to discern with seichel and to talk. And the general assumption is that these are 4 separate categories. They do not touch each other. You cannot live in multiple categories. At least a domem cannot jump up to be a chai, an animal. And really, it seems like if you are what you are, well, then you are stuck at what you are. That is, of course, until you examine that there are domemim, inanimate objects, that grow algae. There is food that sprouts mold. There are domem, inanimate objects, that seemingly have turned themselves into tzomchim, sprouters, living things. And Rabbi Yeruchom, he poses to the group of Bachrim and educates us that, well, it's odd, don't you think? If a person is created in a category, he's a domem, he's a rock. That's how life is. But all of a sudden, he became a tzomeach. Well, which category is it? Are they interconnected, or are these categories separate? Further analysis will show you that some are truly hybrids. There is something called the coral reef. I'm sure you have heard of it on your, or perhaps seen it on your vacations. That is part domem, part tzomeach. Studies show that there is life inside of this coral reef. Part rock, part sand and ground, seafloor, part living, life, tzomeach. What's more, the highest level of these 4 categories, the spitz intelligence, the human being, is actually at the beck and call and must support himself through the lowest level, aka domem, food. The highest level of intelligence needs the domem, the lowly rock, in order to survive. And if that's not enough, in Parshas Chukas and Balak, this week's double parsha, we see something even more odd. That's the Asoinoi Shel Bilam. This prophet traveling to curse the Jewish people is kind of stuck. A conundrum. His donkey isn't working. As much as he whips, hits, and abuses his donkey, the donkey will not budge. And then something miraculous happens. The donkey opens up its mouth, Vayiftach Hashem es pi ha'ason, and speaks to its master. And when one reads the verse critically, you'll notice that it seems as if all that was missing from the donkey's ability to speak was Vayiftach Hashem, that Hashem didn't open its mouth. However, it seems like even a chai, an animal, might potentially have the ability to speak. As we see here, indeed, a chai just leapfrogged itself into the top level of a medaber. But truly, all that it was lacking was the Vayiftach, the opening up of its mouth. But the koach, the potential and the ability for animals to speak like humans is very well there, it seems. So what are these 4 levels of intelligence? Is there any difference between a domem, tzomeach, chai, and medaber? What we are forced to say, says Rav Yeruchom, is to take the words for what they do in fact say and understand that when a person has been born into a human being or created as a rock, as an animal, as any of these categories, that is where you are placed at the beginning of one's life. That is the category of, which general entity you are and the normal intellect. But your kochos may indeed rise far above that. You are not handcuffed into your level. This is where you begin, and this is, the gun goes off, and where the race must begin. There are gedarim, levels, and just like, when one is in first grade, they are not in second grade, but it's not impossible for a first grader to leapfrog the second grade, skip a class, jump forward. The kochos may be there. The kochos may allow one. The potential may give one the right, the ability to become a higher level. But these are just the gedarim of where we begin. And truthfully, la'asid lavo, when Hashem brings Mashiach, the pasuk says that Oz, then, Yiranenu kol atze ya'ar. The inanimate objects will sing Shira to Hashem just like the human beings. Everybody will be Vayiftach Hashem es pi ha'ason. Everyone will sing together Shirosh v'tishpachos of Hashem. A big hora, a kumbaya with a coral reef, and a donkey by your side. Truly a remarkable spectacle. There is, however, still one difference between humans and the other levels of intelligence. And that is that humans do have bechira. We have choice. We have the ability to choose. And while it would take a miracle to make a donkey talk, it would take of a Yiftach Hashem es pi ha'ason, human beings can level up and do the miraculous without any special miracle occurring. There isn't a better proof to this than Bilam also, who was walking with this donkey, and eventually when he saw what the donkey saw which was a angel standing there impeding his way, and the verse says that Hashem opened his eyes to this angel, and Moreh Nevuchim, the Rambam, tells us that this was not just a vision, but it was a prophecy. There was nevuah happening here, and the lashon of the verse is Vayigal Hashem es einei Bilam. It sounds also like, indeed, the koach, the potential for this human to have nevuah, was always there. Humans can always become prophets. Rambam tells us this. The psukim attest to this. It just took a Vayigal Hashem. God just needed to open his eyes. But the koach, the potential, always rooted inside of the human spirit. And all the way back, if you remember, When Avraham Avinu was traveling towards the Akedas Yitzchak, Har HaMoriah, he turned to his fellows who were standing with him, traveling with the two other lads. He says, "You see the fire up on Har HaMoriah?" And those that responded yes, they had that vision, that prophecy, that nevuah. Avraham Avinu invited them to come along on the journey towards the mountain. But the individual who could not see the fire, the response was, "Shavu lachem poi im hachamor." Stay here. You can't see the prophecy. If you are not on this level, and in this case, you just weren't granted this gift, well then, stay with the donkey as you are more comparable on this level to a lower level of intelligence. It's mevur. Shemi she'enai roya es ha'anan. Someone who didn't see that cloud, the fire on the mountain, harayu begeder chamor, they were not on this level. They had not leveled up. Now, let's really get down to business. What this vart means to us, what this insight can tell us and help us with. And it all begins with a rather shocking statement from the Heilige Rishon, the Seforno, on the pasuk of Vayiftach Hashem es pi ha'ason, that Hashem opened up the mouth of the donkey. The Seforno says, what does it mean that God was Vayiftach Hashem es pi ha'ason? Nosan bo koach ledaber. God gave the strength to speak. Ki'inin, as the same situation, and this is comparable to Hashem sefasai tiftach v'yagid tehilasecha. So when David HaMelech said, "Please Hashem, open my mouth, so I may sing your praises and recognize you all the more." It makes no sense. A hekish? A comparison between the donkey talking and some of the greatest words uttered by one of the holiest singers, authors, and prophets to ever live? The donkey talking is begeder Hashem sefasai tiftach eyech yitachen. How is this possible? What are we to make of this connection made by the Seforno? The answer, the truth, again. It is staring us dead in the face. That David HaMelech, he said these words every time that he wanted and sought to see more levels of Hashem, more hakara, more recognition, more acknowledgement of the Shekhinah, more of a connection to the Almighty, and taking a leap forward, a step closer to Hashem. And indeed, one step closer to Hashem is an entirely new creation, a beria chadasha, like a chai becoming a medaber, like a donkey talking like a human. The same leveling up. This yesod is makif kol chaye ha'adam. Our entire lives. Our job to level up, to recognize more of Hashem in our lives, to take a step forward in our Adavning, in our learning. And that is truly like leveling up from the level of a medaber to something much higher. There are dargos le'ein sof, levels that never end. Our goal is to climb Jacob's ladder, to be tosefes maila al maila, darga al darga, rung upon rung, climbing ever higher. Truly a scary insight and a motivating insight, because we don't really know how much we are capable of. How much, if we pushed ourselves harder and harder, if we thought harder and worked quicker, methodically, what we really can achieve over time. It's not a miracle when one becomes a prophet. It really can happen with enough hard work. Rambam tells us that a person, any Jewish person, has bechira to be as lowly, as sinful as Yeruchom ben Nevat. You can block people's paths to the Harabayas, wanting them to come to your own avodah zara, idolatry-filled temple, so they'll praise you. And when Hashem says, "You will walk with me amongst the other towering Torah giants," someone like Yeruchom ben Nevat responded, "Well, who will be in the lead who will be in front, one has, God forbid, potential to fall that low. But on the other side, we have Bechira to raise ourselves up to the heavens and engage in disputation with the angels and to outsmart them, outwit them, and to bring the Torah down to the Jewish people and to lead the nation like Moshe Rabbeinu. We have Bechira to bring ourselves to levels of the greatest prophet to ever live, Moshe Rabbeinu. Kochos HaNefesh. Listen to what potential is. Listen to what the inside, the koach is inside of every Jewish person. Every new hakara in life, a recognition inside of one's character, a recognition more of Hashem's Shechina, a recognition of taking the next step forward. You are now a new creation, a new leveling up. And while this is hopefully inspiring, and it should be fun for us to explore the depths of the unknown kochos hanefesh we all have, what's more is that we see that rocks can turn into living creatures. If a person feels spiritually dead, if his brain simply, he's not a lamdin, let's just say. He's not really good at the paying attention in davening and the learning with clarity. He doesn't have the focus capacity. Let's out saying it any other way. Brick or stone heads have the ability to start blossoming beautiful fruits, to elevate themselves rung upon rung into a chai, up to a medaber, into a malach, eventually a great nevuah, a prophet like Moshe Rabbeinu. Avonim can be motziim peiris. It's lahafli. It's no ro lahisponein. It's incredible to think about. I apologize to my father for this mashal. I do abide by the speed limits. However, there is some leeway. The cops necessarily or don't always pull over for 5 over. So what is the speed limit? It is a real law. But it is a very strong suggestion for if you don't want to get hurt, do not go fast. Do not go above this limit. Let's keep everybody safe. These are suggestions in life if you are born as someone who can only go 20 miles an hour. You can buck that speed limit and you can elevate yourself to prophetic, Talmidei Chachamim-esque levels. Koach to the poel, bringing our potential into reality, to turn the potential energy into kinetic energy. If Avram Avinu would have turned to you while you were traveling with him towards Har HaMoriah and asked you, do you see the fire on Har HaMoriah? Don't you wish that you'd be able to answer yes? We should jump in and explore the mysterious thing that is our kochos hanefesh, a seemingly never-ending trench at the depths of the ocean. We are so, so powerful. Our potential is so, so great. The lesson is clear. It's to take the certain rock-like parts of our Avodas Hashem and to apply pressure and to elevate them and to really bring out the beautiful fruits. It's our avodah, to turn our koach into poel, to turn our potential into reality.